This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Business taxes. We're stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on turbotax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
So good, so good, so good.
Just in and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Vince, Calvin Klein, Rag & Bone.
Obsessed. Why do we rock? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbif Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. Top 14, Pro de Nationale, the French national team, the Dublin Champions Cup, Challenge Cups, brilliant stadiums, towns, cities, restaurants, food, bars, music, people, fans, everything that make the French rugby experience so magnificent. Rob, you're joining me late on a Monday evening. How are you?
Better than I was. I'm still not fantastic. There might be the odd pause during this where I have to go on mute to cough or sneeze. But yeah, I had the flu last week. Actual flu, which once you have actual flu, you realise what actual flu is like, and it is actually really grim. And I've realised I've never had it before in my life, because it is actually, just wipes you out, absolutely wipes you out, and you feel rough.
Spent most of last week in a dark room feeling grim. Did Saturday perk you up at all? Were you able to watch the match or matches among any festivities?
Yeah, I was able to watch the matches. I was feeling luckily just about better. And I mean, I had a nice full long day of work on Friday to make up for being in bed for 2 days. So I was kind of ready and raring to go for the rugby on Saturday. Unfortunately, watched it, had it all lined up, watched it in a place where we couldn't hear the commentary, which I've decided is a huge factor in the enjoyment of the game. Like even if you kind of not really listening to it in a public space, I think you just don't take it in nearly as much. If the overriding sound is music or general chatter compared to Miles Harrison.
Any tunes?
Oh, some bangers, like 80s kind of In Excess, that sort of thing.
Very nice, very nice.
How about you? Where did you watch it?
I watched it at home. Kept it very simple. Had a very basic weekend. Was out on Saturday evening with a few friends nearby, so kept it quiet. Did a bit of good boy admin on Saturday, and that was pretty much the extent of it.
And some good boy admin this evening.
Some good boy admin this evening. Went to see my grandma, Iris. Shout out if you're listening. It's her 95th birthday this weekend.
Oh wow!
Many
happy returns.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I think she's doing Super Saturday meeting at Flatiron Square about 11 in the morning.
Having already started with a boozy breakfast, watching some Super Rugby. It's not just Six Nations. Yeah, it's gonna be
a big one indeed. Shall we get stuck in? Pretty momentous stuff at the weekend, and I'm not just talking about Steve69 at gmail.com, who was our first full internet
troller. Yeah, that was amazing. Worryingly accurate. Anyway, I guess we can prelude it by this time last week. We did promise people a special preview. Partly we didn't do it, partly because I was laid up and unable to really move. Partly because we we kind of ran out of things to say. People may have seen it on some of our social media. Like, felt like there was just it was so saturated with opinions and content, and it was all largely the same stuff. And we have said as much as we wanted to say about this France squad in the lead up to it. Yeah, I kind of went into it in the week building up to it. Maybe it's because I was ill. I just wasn't that enthused. By the time kind of Saturday came around, I was like, okay, this is actually quite cool. And I think it was more the fact that I was having a day out, having had a crap week. But am I putting words in your mouth there, or did you kind of share those sentiments?
Well, I share the sentiment of I didn't feel we had a huge amount to add. I think there was so much focus on the selection in particular. Obviously the magnitude of the game was so vast that sort of spoke for itself. I'm not sure. When I watched, I was worried someone was keeping you hostage, Rob, when you sent me your preview video, which basically said you weren't particularly excited for the game, which did surprise me somewhat, because it was a cracker and it was arguably the showpiece game from the outset. But maybe that's the flu talking. But I think in the aftermath of it, there are some salient points to run through, and it was a fantastic watch. I think, regardless, unless you're an Ireland fan, there was some awesome rugby, plenty of talking points, some intrigue as well. So yeah, to start off, best win you can remember in this kind of Galtier Edwards, I suppose, era for France? No. What is
the first time? 2021 when they beat the All Blacks in Paris. Either that, or I think they beat South Africa around that time as well. But I just remember that game that has the Entermac kind of on his own line running it out. And there's I think they were just playing such good rugby then, and they absolutely dominated the All Blacks, which not many people do. That would be up there. I think there was probably a few in that Grand Slam winning year. I think there was I think the England 50-something 10 or whatever a couple of years ago at Twickenham, I think has got to be up there as well, just for the sheer demolition of it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
this is.
Well, I think it's one of a couple. Ireland haven't lost in the Six Nations 3 years. They're going to have lost 1 out of 15. Haven't lost.
No, they lost last year to England.
Correct. Sorry, you are correct. Haven't lost in Dublin for 10 games in the Six Nations, which is the longest streak ever. And I think they were slight favourites going into it. I think it's a massive performance, not least because they certainly didn't have it their own way in the first half. And I think it's probably one of the more complete performances, and the actual margin of victory is far bigger than a couple of sort of, what's the word, consolation tries show at the end. Like, it was a bit of a dusting.
I saw there's a guy on TikTok that we follow who's got quite a big following, a young lad. He's Irish and he's a Leinster fan, and he went in full rant mode and was saying you can take 15 points off that France score and you get an accurate reflection of the game. I was like, we're watching the same game, mate. Like, you scored 2 tries at the end to make it look remotely respectable. And he was complaining it was like the worst refereeing performance I've ever seen. I was like, watching it back yesterday, kind of having seen that video on Sunday morning, I was like, I mean, Irish fans can be accused of being one-eyed sometimes, but it was a pretty comfortable win.
I don't think too many Irish folk players, whatever, had too many complaints about it. I think that was quite an extreme viewpoint. You would say, did we learn anything from this game? Take the learnings, as a failing coach might say. Did we? Anything that stood out to you here?
I think we did. What do you think we learned? I need to kind of gather my thoughts on that. Well, Oscar Jegu is really good. He's not a centre. He's never going to start a game as a centre, but he is very good.
He is very good, isn't he? And he also looks really. He's quite awkwardly shaped. He looks like you're going to end up with like an elbow or a shoulder or a knee. It's all a bit like the guy at school who's a bit weird and sort of minces people, which he was doing. He was very good. I've learned that I still don't think the 7-1 bench, and that's the last time I'm going to use the phrase 7-1, because I thought I was going to go mental if I heard it again last week. But I'm not entirely sure if you delve into it works. But I want to talk about that in a moment. I think actually I haven't learned too much, but there's a couple of players who we looked at, Gross, Guillard, Murfana, who've had really good campaigns. And this felt like the biggest test for each of those individuals. And I think they all came through superbly. They were great.
I think
And
that
making like
validates their
proper,
form, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. Mo Fana in particularly his defensive effort was awesome.
I think he was man of
Probably,
the match.
yeah, I'm with you. I think he just expended a huge amount. He was at the heart of everything.
Everywhere.
He
Absolutely
he really
everywhere.
was. I've learned that sometimes you can see what Francois Cross is up to. He was pretty conspicuous in the first 15 minutes, having made about 100 tackles. He was very, very good. And I think we've learned that, well, not learned, but I really loved Maxime Lucu's performance. Somebody
Yeah.
who, to be fair, in a France shirt, at least in recent memory, is flattered to deceive a little bit. He was fabulous. And coming on as well, not just in a last 30 minutes, so you get a bit of game time, but the game's done, or you're continuing momentum. Like France from the back foot when he came on, and he was right front and center of their turnaround from whatever it was, 25 onwards.
I think because if you look back to 12 months, the fourth round of the Six Nations last year was the game that he got dropped for, was when Le Garrec first came in.
Yeah.
So it's quite, if you kind of think back to last year, I think there's the circumstances of him coming on were less unfavorable, if that makes sense. Like I think he could, like this time last year, he could only fail. You know, Dupont was playing red hot rugby. You know, they've just lost the World Cup. They're low on confidence. There's kind of Entamax injured. Like, is Jalabert the right man? Is he fit? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's so much pressure on him. And so he would have been so in the spotlight at that time in France. Whereas I think since he's got dropped last year, his club form has been absolutely excellent, which has probably given him a huge confidence boost. He is the main man there. He has had a bit of recognition from the kind of wider public as a result of that. And I think in this scenario, he came on, there wasn't that whole pressure because he came on mid-match. And as you say, he's coming on to have a full performance. Like he's not filling in for someone else, or he's not carrying on someone else's work. He is picking up the ingredients and cooking the dish himself, which I think was quite key to his performance. And I think just the whole belief and confidence and faith, and you can see the faith of his teammates. And I think just anyone that has watched any French rugby, domestic French rugby that is, knows how good a player he is. And I think everyone that has seen it was kind of more than happy to see this performance and kind of for him to show his true colours on a bigger stage to a wider audience.
Yeah, he was excellent. He was sublime. Anything else to the learnings?
Nothing.
Penaud, still loose, absolute hero.
Still loose.
I love him so much. I love it. He is such a hero.
I did see not Penaud, but BLBRA. I saw because obviously his try just like skins the first one, Richard said he skins everyone just with his sheer pace. And I saw a photo of someone had done like a photo and done like the most rudimentary, you know, like WhatsApp or like iPhone arrows for like Prendergast and him in two different colors. And the caption was just video analysis was so key, you know, like for the Brighton banner.
That's very good.
Because I think that is like the winger was slow to turn or something, isn't it? It's just that's really stayed with me, that one, like all of the last few days.
No, that's nice. Like it a lot. Just quickly then, the Le Bon squad, the Sept 1 bench, whatever you want to call it. It's the new 21, I'm calling it. That one. Obviously, huge number of plaudits to Galtier. Fair play the way it transpired. You know, they were behind at just before 50 minutes, before obviously kind of lit the touch paper. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've got a couple of semi-keen views on how I view that bench performance.
I kind of lost track of who was on, to be honest. Even rewatching it, I kind of forgot who was the replacement forwards. I was expecting Rumat to appear, and then I realised he wasn't actually in the squad. It was Oradu instead and Jelonch. But I think I don't think it's necessary, is it? Like it's just, you know, Jelonch was great, as he would be if in a 5-3 bench. Niafu off the bench is quite useful, as you might expect. Like, you know, it's
Yeah.
And you know, at what point might they have quite fancied Nicolas Deporter at 13? Or,
certainly on another day if the Barassi injury happens a little bit earlier. Yeah, for me, I think don't get me wrong, they were to a man, they were all really good. Miafu feels like some play having Miafu off the bench. Like it's almost like his impact is double.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Like he just did everything. But I think the sort of slightly blanket, you know, how well that bench did maybe detracts a little bit from a couple of like how good the individual performances were. Because Miafu said there was magnificent. We've already spoken about Luku and Jegu. But I really thought as well that Marchand off the bench brought some like real intensity and just gnarliness that, you know, looked quite first choice hookery, to be honest. And
I thought it's probably Malvaca's best performance of the tournament as well. His throwing was really good, and he was decent. A couple of really key turnovers at breakdowns. Like in early on when they were under the pump, that was Malvaca winning those breakdowns.
Malvaca and Cross, wasn't it? Were everywhere. But yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is that I feel like by bucketing them all together, I think it slightly detracts from how good those two are in particular. Didn't see a huge amount of Dorian Aldegheri, I'll be honest with you. I think his plaudits of you know, his stock has risen, having not done a huge amount.
Just by virtue of being part of the Toulouse part of it, whatever they were calling it.
But they were very good.
What did you make of some of the refereeing decisions? I think the yellow cards are all legit. The McCarthy one is stupid. I think the Calvin Nash one, in the pub, I thought it was red, but having seen it again, it's definitely
I don't think it is.
I think there are a few people who have had their eyes kind of revealed to some of the tricks of Peter O'Mahony, and I am definitely one of them. And I think he's one of the dirtiest players to have ever played the game. And I think some of his stuff was utterly cynical. How they've not had a second look at the one where he just wipes out Murph Arner.
Well, there were two, weren't there?
All down.
There was one on Biel Biere, I think, and then there was one on Mo Afana. I think it was the second one.
The second one, he makes it. The second one is Biel Biere, and it looks more like he's trying to charge it down. The Mo Afana one, he doesn't even look like. He literally just runs it into his shoulder.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that. That was the only thing that sort of annoyed me slightly, just because I think that is actually. It's all well and good having a few dark arts, but that's just dangerous, isn't it? Like
thuggery, yeah.
Just sort of, I don't know. Well, we saw what happened to Antoine Dupont, and his leg basically got stuck. Like, okay, two different incidents, but that's the exact reason you're not allowed to go in with those sort of like no arms tackles close to the line, where you essentially make yourself like a speed bump. Because if your foot gets stuck, you're completely fucked. So yeah, I didn't like that. Otherwise, there was so much going on. I think in the grand scheme of things, most of the big stuff was probably absolutely fine.
The only one that I'm less okay with is actually the Peter O'Mahony beyond the ruck thing for the Boudon try.
You think that should have been chalked off?
He milks it 100%, but I don't quite understand the argument of him being a matador, because he's not duped. He's not duping Flamont into anything. Flamont just keeps going forward into him.
Yeah.
And he's on the floor in the space that he falls over. He doesn't need to go down, but would be in the space. I think they probably still scored the try, but I think
can see it. I didn't quite
get the arguments. But I thought Angus Gardner was very good. But to echo a point you made about Luke Pearce earlier on in the season, I feel like I heard Angus Gardner a lot.
Yeah, like it's a weird situation.
It's just just only ever hear his voice, like more than like Miles Harrison.
The best referees are the ones who communicate. They're constantly in touch with the players. Like absolute cauldron. You know, they've now got their decisions going out in front of 60,000 people, and everyone's kicking off. But the flip side is this classic case, isn't it? You almost sort of strive for perfection, and it does just take a little bit away for me. It's a bit too front and center, but for the most part, I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, but I think on the Omani one, I can definitely see that. I think the thing that maybe saves him ever so slightly is that it's John Baptiste Gross, isn't it, who goes through that gap to start with, and it's sort of not it is where Omani was, but not like exactly. And then Luku gets offloaded the ball and goes through and flips out of the back like an absolute legend. But it is sort of like there's just enough of a gap to make it look slightly less obvious. Whereas maybe if that had gone to a faster man, that gap is filled slightly more quickly, and it's a little bit black and white. But I don't think it was too much of a problem either way.
You mentioning the Luku offload has just reminded me of the most ludicrous piece of play where Ramos is on the deck and like as he's like falling to deck, no look, hop pass to BLBRA. He then does a crossfield kick that goes 10 meters backwards to Penno, who then actually makes quite a good clearance.
Yeah,
it's just one of the loosest bits of play.
It's unbelievable
in an international game.
It's unbelievable, but the clearance from Penno is amazing, but it's like an eyes closed whack it. And I feel like BLBRA, he's still, because he's got the world at his feet at the moment. Like if you do that the other way around and it's Penno doing that kick to BLBRA, people like Gaultier is imploding. But because he's like the wonder child, and because Penno is such a loose cannon, it just sort of like it all feels perfectly fine. But it was an amazing clearance, wasn't it? Like the whole thing couldn't have worked out better. I saw Charlie Morgan in the Telegraph put a tweet out that said something like, "Oh, that's the most outrageous clearance I've ever seen," and then put in quotes like Gibson Park kicks long, France clear to halfway.
I saw that,
which is very, very good. Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome performance. I was going to say, obviously, the shit news for anyone concerned is Antoine Dupont. It's looking like a serious layoff with I think it's ACL, is it?
Yeah, it's knee ligaments. So it's cruciate ligaments. I don't know. I assume it's ACL. Someone said it was A and M.
Yeah. Not much fun. So that was horrible to see.
What do you make of that incident?
I don't think there's anything in it, honestly.
It's not an incident to me. I think it's just, if you watch it, because obviously watching it back, you know when it's happening, and watching it real time,
didn't see a thing.
He gets cleaned out, or the clean out happens almost as soon as Antoine Dupont puts his hand on the ball to try and win the turnover. It's actually, if you take out the injury, which I think is completely incidental, it's actually a very good clean out, like in terms of how quickly he's there, like the efficiency with which he does it. I know that's that's going to sound really bad, and it's probably quite unpopular, but it's a very good clean out. It just happens that the angles work in that way that his knee gets trapped. That there is, on another day, that doesn't happen. What I would say, Angus Gardner said he was going to hurry up the Ireland forming lineouts, and he said next time you do it, I'm going to ping you and I'm going to free kick you. And that was it was the second line out after he'd given them the warning, and they spent blooming ages. So if he'd stuck to his word on that, might never have happened. But
maybe. But
I don't think
it's
not dirty or anything.
No, I don't think so. I thought Byrne was, because Dupont's so low, I think he actually does a really good job at trying to get in at the right height, which is not like missile low. And actually Dupont kind of half rides the clear out a bit. And that's why he's still there. And then it's the kind of secondary slightly sideways motion which comes when I think Porter maybe joins the clear. It's just for me, genuinely, there's like nothing. And I'm trying to look at it from a, almost trying to find fault. And I just think it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real shame. Hopefully it's, I don't know what the best case scenario for that is. They tend to be pretty steady layoffs, don't they? But hopefully it's whatever can come of it.
I think if that is Mikel Guillard that happens to, or Francois Jean-Baptiste Cross, I think they don't, there's no whinging post match, there's no whinging during the game, all that stuff. I think it's because of who it is that it has any spotlight on it at all.
Yeah, agreed. It does mean obviously he won't be around for a while, and this week going into the last game, which is okay. We think they are probably clear favourites to win now, but it's 9 p.m. Scotland. It's a lovely kind of crescendo to the tournament. And I suppose the key points are that it's going to be no Barassi, who actually I thought was having quite a good game. There'll be no Dupont. So there's two starting birds there up for grabs. Probably throws the bench into a slight reformation. So yeah, thoughts selection ahead of Saturday.
Well, I think because Saran has obviously come into the squad, but I would be amazed. Well, the amount of times I've said that and been completely wrong. Just talking. You'd imagine it would have to be Luku after the way he played. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that Gaultier just says, "Nah, Legarec's my man. I like him." Just we've seen him kind of just disregard really, really good performances with what he did with Barre and Atasogbe. But you'd imagine it would have to be Luku, and I think given what's on the line, I think it will be Fiku. I was amazed that he wasn't involved last week, but I think it probably would be Fiku. He was 13 in the other, and when they do the training at Marcoussis, he was there. In the opposition team, he was the 13. So that would suggest that he is the next 13 on the rank.
Probably, I'd agree. Probably not in the side, but an intriguing call-up. Someone you mentioned a few weeks ago, you are wearing a Po hat, I think. With your Po hat on, Fabien Brau-Boiry. Apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. Tell me a little about him, because
it's a tough one. It's a tough one to get your lips around, isn't it? Brau-Boiry.
It is a little bit.
He's brilliant. He's an immensely talented player. I think I kind of referred to him as a bit of a thoroughbred. Like, he looks like a real specimen, bearing in mind that he's only 19, 20. But he's also kind of that Rolls-Royce calmness that a few French centres seem to have, but particularly the most obvious comparison being his teammate, Emilien Gaeton. But he's a lot more physical. He is that kind of, he's a bit Gaeton and Koff,
12,
quite
generally
wiry.
12.
Yeah, he's a 12, yeah. And probably a bit more of a 12 than someone like Nicolas Deporter. So he is probably more of a 12 than Gael Fickou, or will be anyway. He's probably lighter and smaller than Fickou currently. But he's a brilliant player. I think he shouldn't play. I think this is far too early for him.
They do
I was quite surprised to see him there, but
they do like their extended squads, and they do train together quite a bit, don't they?
Yeah.
The team. So get him in, have a look.
Yeah, but I don't think he'll play, and I think the magnitude of the game is such that he won't play.
Yeah.
What do you think the bench will be?
I think they'll probably go 6-2.
With Legarec
or Luke. I could see Luku being. I'm not sure. I mean, I'd pick him to start, but I could see that, and maybe a Deporter, maybe a Fickou in 23 jersey, cover the wing.
He plays 13 then if Fickou's on your bench.
Well, for me it'd be Deporter.
Okay.
More rugby. I think he's plays with Moefana week in, week out. I think he's top draw and has looked fine in a French shirt before. I think he's high ceiling. So maybe that way. If not, I guess, does Gaeton come back into the 20?
He's injured, isn't he?
Oh, he's injured. Of course he is. Sorry, he got injured against Racing.
I think he would start if.
I think you're right.
I think he might have started had he not get injured against Racing.
Yeah,
even ahead of Barassi. But yeah,
but it's probably going to
be one. It won't be Jalabert then. You're not saying you can't.
I don't think
Jalabert
so.
And Barre.
Maybe they want a little. Yeah, possibly.
Because he could have a 12 as well.
Yeah, we'll find out. I don't know. It'll probably be
Damian Try.
Josiah Rice-Unga, someone like that. Who knows? Just quickly before we wrap up this first section, Brau-Boiry, he did not play for the under-20s.
Can I just ask a couple of things on Dupont quickly? Obviously, it's gutting news for all neutral rugby fans. It's gutting news for us. It's going to be great fun following his social media once he's kind of back up on his feet in some way. I'm fascinated to see what he does. But I was immediately kind of thinking when I thought of his long injury layoff of Michael Jordan. So when he broke his foot in quite early on, I think it's in his second season in the NBA, and he basically ignored all doctors' advice and started doing some quite intense training and got himself to a gym, requested permission. He came back, so he broke his left foot. And when he returned for his medical at Chicago Bulls, the calf muscles in his left calf were stronger than his right calf. So I just think, is Dupont going to kind of come back as, even stronger?
With a massive leg.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just
is
he going to come back? Because obviously my fear was that, oh no, what if he loses a yard of pace or, agility? But I just feel like he's going to come back even better. And this is going to be a part of his story that just makes him even greater.
Yeah, probably.
The other thing is, presumably now Toulouse can get a medical joker in for him. I imagine there's quite a lot of budget and cap space available as a result of that.
Wow.
So I was thinking, who are they going to bring in? Are we talking Aaron Smith? Are are they going to pump some new genes into Gareth Edwards and revive him? Or are they going to claim that Dupont's a fly half and get in Bowden Barrett or Richie Mwanga?
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Who would you?
I've got some genuine options that aren't make believe. Well, Aaron Smith or TJ Perinara is actually one that is quite feasible, I'd say. The one player, he's just extended his contract though, and obviously Bath are doing quite well in the Premiership. But I'd love to see Ben Spencer. Yeah. The other player who I know is a big fan of Toulouse and has never played outside of his kind of boyhood club and the club of his other family members, Ben Youngs could be, a Ben Youngs or Danny Kerr, guys that are outside the England squad that could then go because they don't have to worry about England eligibility. And I thought Ben Youngs and Danny Kerr might be the kind of an experienced head then that they've kind of got,
I could see Kerr. I think he's just signed an extension, isn't he? 1 year.
Yeah, he's done another year
at Quins. Oh God, the mind's boggling now. Oh mate, it'll be big Stu Townsend.
Townsend's we know he's better.
Yeah, exactly. Rob Browboiry did not play for the under-20s on Friday night. There was some rogue refereeing in this down in Cork. Give me your 30-second summary of what was quite an eventful.
This game was absolutely bizarre. Yeah, the refereeing, some of it was mental. They pulled one back, absolutely. I think I kind of said Bod and Rog were playing. They pulled it back that far. There was obviously the one that's made the news is the back rower whose name I've forgotten, who is basically he's not even close to the line.
That's the thing that got me.
Noah Traversier, that's him. He's there's players next to him and he's nowhere near the line. And he's laughing. And then the ball, lo and behold, by the scrum half, gets knocked out.
Yeah, because the one you think of is Freddie Burns getting done by Maxime Medard, was it?
Yeah.
At the wreck. It's not like that. The bloke's still got 15 yards to go in traffic. He's just grinning.
There was also an amazing of what I would call whack-a-mole, where Sanson, just the ball kind of sees the light of day at the back of a maul and he just goes bang, just slaps it down. It's the most obvious yellow card. France under 20 has been brilliant for obvious yellow cards. Absolutely amazing. John Etchegaray is really good. Obviously, he has announced himself quite impressively for UBB. I think he set up a wonderful try and then scored on his debut at Bayonne. And then it was him that scored the quickest try in top 14 history. Yeah,
it was.
He looks really good. Looks really good. Quite I think someone said, it's they've got another one like Louis Bielbiere. I'd say he's more of a Ramos type player of kind of little chip kicks and just quite a natural kind of skips across the turf rather than an out and out whip it like Bielbiere. But he looks a real talent. Which, bearing in mind at the start of the tournament, it was all about Hugo Pacom as the fullback. It's just frightening, really, isn't it? But they could do with another
useful back, that Bordeaux team.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Fabian Browbury did play, as I've written down here. Oliver Cowie comes on for Browbury. So, really, it wasn't. I mean, a lot happened in that game, all right? A lot happened in that game, okay, Richard? And Browbury actually was pretty quiet. Oliver Cowie, who ran he seems to run some lovely angles. Obviously, a lot of attention is on how English. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of attention on how English his English accent is. But the player I want to shout out is, I can't remember his first name now, Quartermanche, the fly half from Van. He's got an apostrophe CH in his name, which I assume is a Celtic thing or something like that, or it must be something of that ilk.
Breton, yeah.
Yeah. Not your typical under-20s fly half, I'd say. He looked quite tubby. And you don't see a lot of, I feel like in the under-20s, they're all kind of, now
pretty shredded, aren't they?
They're all shredded, or they're tiny, they're boys. Whereas, I mean, he looked like a 20-year-old, but he just had a little bit of a spare tire around the midriff. And remarkably, he played quite like a fly half of that ilk might play. He's got a lovely, long, lazy left boot. There is very much a lot of the Cami Lopez about him. And he's actually looks quite a good player. But I quite like the fact that they've kind of found another less mobile, less aesthetically good looking fly half. There's just going to be, in a few years' time, it's just going to be.
He's going to have a hell of a
raking,
career.
Yeah. He'll be playing until he's 39. He'll have a couple of clubs. He'll get to a Champions Cup final, lose gloriously,
then go back and play for Stade Nantais or something when they've ascended to the heights. All right, Six Nations, full teams and under-20s. Rat will be back in just a moment to discuss the goings-on in Pro Day.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yeah. Before we get stuck into Pro Day, as ever, an honourable mention to everybody's favourite third-tier rugby competition, Nationale. And there were some interesting results. And Rob, you watched a little bit of this.
Yeah. I was waiting for the under-20s to start and really wanted to be watching some Pro Day, and you sent me a link to the live stream of Rouen. Rouen's YouTube, but it was at Chambéry. So Chambéry v Rouen, so first versus third, and Chambéry ran out pretty convincing winners in the end. Looked pretty organised generally, I'd say. It was quite nice to I wasn't paying loads of attention, but they looked very organised. Tane Takalua still looks great. Sets his back line. I'm amazed every time I see him, just like his calves are just enormous. I forget every time, because he's kind of someone that's still, it's not every day you think about Tane Takalua, and then he pops up and you're like, his calves, they're enormous. But yeah, Chambéry looked good. And they've stretched out a bit of a lead up top now. Or certainly over Rouen. Rouen have had a pretty tough run.
Yeah, Rouen have now dropped to third, I think it is, having lost 2 of their last 3. Wins for Bourg-en-Bresse, our boys Périgueux. Nice. Good win at home to Carcassonne. Bourgoin got a really good win, 58-24 against Surette. So they're now sort of looking a little bit better than they were a couple of weeks back.
Who was that, sorry?
That was Bourgoin.
Oh, wow.
But the two headline wins were one, Massy, tight win 29-26 at home to Narbonne. So they've now won 9 on the spin, which is form in anyone's book. And they now sit 5th. So they're chasing down those top 2. But the big result of the weekend was our boys from up in the north, Lille, Marc and Barouel, who won at home 23-15 to Albi, who have just slipped outside by a point of those barrage spots. It also means at the bottom of the league, 3 points separate 10th and 13th for that Nationale 2 access match. So yeah, plenty going on. And most importantly, in the Marc Barouel team, our man Victor Fire Ballas Birel had to play 75 minutes. He was replaced on 50 by who was it? Danton.
Wasn't Lewis Jones?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So he's actually, interestingly, not on this list. But then had to come back on after obviously a little injury. And he's gone the full 75 in a big home win.
Markham Barrowell, very much the Valence Romans of Nationale. They seem to do quite well every week, and yet they're still second bottom in the access match. It's like, very similar to Valence.
I'm actually looking at this. I'm not quite sure. There was clearly a bit of injury, a bit of shuffle in the pack, because Maxime Danton, the reason I couldn't see him on the bench is because he was their starting 8, but he's then gone off and been replaced. So
Victor Fee, did he come on at 8? Surely he's not playing any other position other than tight head prop or loose head prop.
It looks like he got some minutes in there, and that's all that matters. Pro Day Deux.
Yes.
8 home wins for only the third time this season. They've been vanishingly rare. Doesn't tell quite the whole story, because a couple of those were very, very late on. Segueing from the Six Nations, Sawyer Ongalen. Segueing from last week's podcast, Sam Davis had another week with his feet up. They sent a slightly changed side to Saxby and got a losing bonus point, but didn't look like they were ever massively in this one.
No, didn't get a losing bonus point. They denied Saxby the attacking bonus point right at the end.
Understood.
With a try from Cody Thomas, the Portuguese tight head prop, filling in as a hooker, as previewed by Sam on our podcast last week. And fair play to Cody Thomas. It is a traditional hooker's try of 5 metre line out, throw the ball in, back of the maul, dot it down. That is about as traditional as it got, because he did not look confident on the throw, and it was a wobbly old throw. But fair play. Executed the drill, got the try, and that's pretty rubbish because the hooter literally goes and then they score the try. It's pretty rubbish from Saxby to give that up, because they were the much better team, and they obviously got very lucky to get Grenoble at a time, just before the break. Sam Davis is being rested, 3 hookers unavailable, no recognised hooker in the match day 23, few other changes made. I think that's, it's not always they would go quite so B team away.
Yeah.
So they got them at a good time, and it would have been really good to have then therefore got the attacking bonus. But they played some fantastic rugby. I mean, we talk about him every week now, but we've got to talk about Alex Masibaka. The try he scored somehow isn't in the top 5, because it's not every week that a number 8 runs one in from 50 metres. Like, how's that not getting in the top 5 tries? Because he also has to bust a couple of tackles. People just slip off him because he's so physical. But yeah, there's like a half break on the halfway line. The ball pops up to him and he kind of gets clear of the defenders. It genuinely looks like they've not had a chance to make a tackle on him, but they have on the replays. And he just gasses it in from halfway. He does kind of, Max Clement, young fly half, does get to him. But again, he's just kind of swats him away as though he's not there. He can properly shift. It's
he's
frightening pace.
Back in the Scotland squad for the last game.
Is he?
Yeah. I feel like who knows? It'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? On semi-home turf, not too far. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, he's been awesome.
A few other standouts in this game. Arthur Proult had a lovely run in the first half, which kind of then eventually led to in the second half, because the score at halftime was 3-3 and Saxby scored their 3 after the buzzer went. So it was 3-0 going into the 40th minute. There's like a no-look hot inside ball from Ben Botica to Arthur Proult, who just seems to catch the ball and accelerate on receiving the ball. He's kind of got that magical thing of being able to seemingly gather pace when you catch the ball. But the best try probably was from Jules de Bec, which is an absolute beauty. He kind of gathers it in the backfield without breaking stride. Like, there's a chip over the top. He picks it up, barely breaks stride, then does his own little chip and chase of his own. He gets the nicest of bounces, but yeah, it's just a joyous try. So there's another one from Erwin Deridi in the Brive game, but a chip and chase try, just a little dink over the top, and when it falls into the attacker's hands is a thing of joy. And we had 2 of them this week. Did you see Jules de Bec, his touchdown, as it were, for this try?
I saw the try. I saw the little chip through the middle. I saw it. I must have zoned out during the touchdown.
He doesn't do a swan dive. It's more of like a pencil dive. Like, it's much more up. He kind of like he's on a pogo
stick. Just not very
stick.
Good, basically.
No, but he goes like direct. He goes like really vertical, and he's like dead straight. You know, like when you're a kid, you do a pencil
Chef
dive.
Kikuchi back in the day.
Yeah. And then he lands his foot is the first thing that lands, because he's kind of basically gone vertical, and then he falls forward.
Okay.
it looks quite painful, but he's having a great time.
Most importantly.
Or it looks dangerous. It doesn't look painful. It looks like it could.
Sort of thing that could end your season and your coach.
Yeah, like if he doesn't quite land it perfect, like if he just is slightly off balance and that's a ruptured ankle ligament and career done.
Yeah. You mentioned there, so in that sort of top echelon, I mean, Grenoble still 12 points clear, a solid 3 wins ahead of the chasing pack. Brive, you mentioned there, decent win at home to Stade Montois, but hanging on in second place at Provence, who high drama beat Colomiers, thanks to, I think, a 81st minute penalty from Jules Plisson.
No, it wasn't clock in the red. It was just
next
before.
Play out. Bang.
Yeah, that was the penalty to give him that shot was quite amusing. They kind of, because Provence are attacking really, really well, like they're flooding through, and then Khaled Timu is just like standing offside, not like 3 meters egregiously offside, but he's kind of like half a meter offside, just waiting to catch the ball, catches the ball and like boots it clear, and the ref is like immediately towards the penalty for offside. It's quite amusing, given that you're like, if he doesn't do it, they might win the game. It wasn't a thing of great beauty, that game, from what I could tell, but it was tense at the end. Rosbeef watch, Brett Herron with a intercept and very nearly went the length himself, but luckily had Rodrigo Marta on his. Have I got the right one? Do I mean Vincent Pinto? One of the Portuguese wingers, but yeah, he was on hand to finish it for him. But yeah, it was a physical penalty-based game. Hugo Pacong, under 20 player for France, kicking sticks for Colomiers and doing pretty well generally.
Yeah, they've had quite a good turn of the season, haven't they, Colomiers? Probably a little bit gutted to lose that one so late, because that would have kicked them sort of into that 6th place. I mean, they're very much in touch, but dropping a few points, albeit on the road. Montauban got dusted away at Oyonnax. The Joel Abd hoodoo appears to be over in the
Gutted.
Six Nations.
Last couple of weeks, we've seen the end of the late Friday kickoff hoodoo, and now we've seen the end of the Joel Abd hoodoo. Livid.
Although Biarritz did their best to try and be front and centre of formerly that Friday night hoodoo. They tried to go 2 from 2, but properly clocking the reds. Was saved by a last-minute try and then conversion by Thomas Dologaray to win 34-33 against Dax, who had a bit of a rough time of it, and that's not what you need when you put on a pretty solid showing away from home and get done in the very last seconds. In the last 10 minutes of this game, there was I think this try went to the TMO post-conversion, which was quite something. I haven't actually
seen there was a bit of controversy.
I wasn't able to see it, but when he takes conversion, you can see all the players kind of but I haven't been able to find the footage of actually what was going on there. Dax had a try disallowed, having been awarded in the last 10. Yeah, all sorts going on in the Basque Hollande derby down there. What else? Valence Roman pushed Aurillac into the access match spot, hammered them 41-14. And at the bottom of the table, Stade Niçois have done the double over one of the great teams in French rugby, Argennes, beaten 31-29. First since October.
Yeah, round 7, I think it was.
It's quite something, isn't it? God, it was quite a promising start. Because I think, wasn't that Argennes' first home game and Nice beat them away?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is it. But fair play to Nice for hanging in there. And
this was a pretty wild game in itself. This swung back and forth because Nice went 21-7 up, and then with about 10 minutes to go, the score got to 27-21 to Argennes. So there's a 20-point swing, and then they came back and won 31-27. So there's then 10-point swing the other way. That is absolutely
impressive
wild
in itself, isn't it? Usually the way those things go, that tends, particularly if you haven't won since 7 BC, like you just roll over. But fair play to them. That's some going.
The celebrations at the end were kind of, don't know, it was kind of like welcoming home some soldiers from a war. Like it was kind of like consolatory but happy but slightly resigned kind of. They're obviously really happy to have got the win, and there's a lot of relief, but
rather than jubilation.
Yeah, because it's not like, I think they kind of know that they can't, that it's not a win to kind of resurrect their season and get them back in the relegation battle, because I think they're just long gone now. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Aurillac,
It must have
who
been
are
a bloody nice,
20...
and to have a break afterwards as well. Like they must have
Yeah.
enjoyed Friday night.
Town on the Riviera. I mean, Aurillac, who are in that position above them, have won 6 more games. It's quite a gap. And then what have we left out? Béziers.
Oh, that was a great game.
Béziers
There was,
Nevers.
yeah, that was some brilliant tries in that one as well. What was I going to say about this one?
Well, you pointed out to me earlier a
Oh,
contender
yes.
for our favourite category on Royal Spiff Rugby, the own try of the season. If you'd like to add some colour, it's a good one, isn't it? Anything where it's in the in-goal area is certainly qualifies it, and this is right up there.
There's a nice attack. Tim Nanai Williams playing 10 for Béziers. He's didn't play much earlier this season. He's now back first choice 10 again. He cropped up in a quiz, didn't he, a few weeks back as someone still playing. But the ball goes out to the flank. There's a lovely little outside of the boot left-footed grubber from our man Gabin Law. And the winger is then chasing it, Pierre Courtois, and he chips ahead and kind of just short of the line, the Nevers player kind of falls on it to kind of gather the ball and prevent Pierre Courtois picking up and scoring. But in kind of going back, as we see quite often, he kind of doesn't quite catch it and the ball spills backwards over his own line. The scrum half for Nevers then picks it up and seemingly just chucks it in the air for the onrushing Gabin Law to just catch and dot down.
That guy does not need any more help scoring tries, and it's on a play. The only thing I'd add is that you say pops it up. The way the ball kind of presents itself out of the hands, it's a bit like if you were to grab like a big bar of soap and squeeze it out of your hands, it just suddenly goes like up.
like he's handling a frog, and the frog just like jumps out of his hand. I think like in real time, it looks like he does literally just catch it and pop it in the air, but I think he probably has like never quite got it under control, and then the kind of presence of Gabin Law just means he shits his nicks a bit and just spills it. But it does genuinely look like he just chucks it in the air. Do you think it is better, or do you think it is more of an own try than the lad who played for the under-20s on Friday, Downavuku? Or it wasn't Downavuku and Bosmaran, wasn't it?
The La Rochelle against Lyon one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe the Lyon one is because there's
more of a build up to it. Like
there's more farce before it.
Yeah.
And the actual pass itself is particularly well. I think what we'll do at the end of the season is compile. Everyone does like actual try of the year and like hit of the year. We'll do own try of the season. Yeah. And see what gets the votes.
Yeah, this one, the Béziers, there was actually quite a nice attacking play from Béziers beforehand, which kind of put them under pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Hasn't come out of nowhere.
There was a lovely double pump and pop pass from Gabin Law for Pierre Courtois, for Pierre Courtois' try earlier on in that half, which was really nice. And a lovely kind of almost solo effort from Taylor Gottignac, who I thought was yet another young French centre. Well, he is French and he is young, he's 24, but he plays for Romania and has played in the Rugby Europe Championship, Taylor Gottignac. Looks a big old unit and looks a good player with a bit of gas to burn a defender on a breakthrough. But yeah, quite nice to see Béziers playing some good rugby with some young players, not kind of just the Samuel Marquez show. They can do it without Samuel Marquez.
Another belting weekend of Pro Day done. Got a couple of weeks off while we enjoyed the Six Nations, but maybe
a lot of weeks off.
Maybe we'll see a bit of Alex Masabaka in a Scotland jersey. Who knows? To get our Pro Day feed back just a sec with some Petit-Fours. Rob, Petit-Fours to round us off this week. What's been gaining your attention in the mad world of French rugby?
Well, you reminded me when you were running through the Nationale fixtures, and nothing has been quite as mad this season as the incident down in the bar in Anglet near Biarritz at the end of January involving Masavesi Dakawanga, who has been signed by our boys, Perigueux, for the remainder of the season. So I think that was a moment of madness. I think he's probably just had a bit of a shocker, and he's not the best at controlling his alcohol, but we all make mistakes, and he's a hell of a rugby player. I mean, I've never bit anyone in the face, but he is going to cause some serious damage in Nationale. Like he was back when Beerus were good at the start. Yeah, when Beerus were good at the start of the year. He's a good player. Isn't he a Olympic gold medalist?
Possibly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me the way he moves. Like he's something else. In a little bit of transfer news, similar type of player, similar position. Guy who tore it up for Mont-de-Marsan last year. Hasn't played quite so much at Oyonnax. Veresa Ramatatabua has apparently signed for Castres, my boys, which is pretty exciting, which is very cool. Castres, who I saw in the week, have renewed their partnership for the third year in a row with Paul's Guitar Festival down in Albi. Yeah, they you can get double-header tickets for, I think you get with any Castres match ticket, you can get yourself, at least this is what it was last year. I don't think they've actually confirmed the offer this year, but you can get yourself a ticket for Paul's Guitar. So you could go and see, among other things, you could go and see Etienne Fletcher, you could go and see Luque, Lucky Love, The Kills, Franz Ferdinand. You could even go and see Sting down in Albi.
Wow. Sting obviously in the Alice Cooper role this year. Franz Ferdinand in the gossip role.
You sadly won't be able to go and see Albi because I think it takes place in July, but Albi nonetheless is supposed to be an absolutely stunning place. So yeah, great partnership. And they celebrated / launched this. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's unbelievable. On bass, we had Remy Baget. On drum,
was that what that was?
Florent Van Verberge and Adrien Segeret on lead guitar. Yeah, it's just hilarious. Proper, just sublime stuff from Castres as ever.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. I'm genuinely, we've seen Franz Ferdinand live. I mean, I love Franz Ferdinand, but we did see them on your stag do.
We did indeed.
We were there.
Among other things.
Yosefa Massi is a current player for Fijian Drua who I saw some sort of crazy stat about him. I think he's quite a talented player, plays in the centre for Fijian Drua. He is signed for Lyon next year. Lyon making a lot of moves, I have to say. I think that's it in terms of my transfer rumours.
Yeah, the two bits of note are there's evidently in French rugby some sort of one in, one out policy on enormous Australians, albeit I think Fijian born. Tengeli Nairavoro he's leaving Narbonne this week. And kind of mutual decision between the two. I know he was interviewed, I think, in the rugby paper on like a rugby paper podcast, saying he was enjoying his time a couple of months ago. Don't know what's gone on there. He's played a bit, hasn't played as much recently. I'm not sure if he got injured, but I mean, it's the kind of weapon you'd probably want to have going into the back end of the season. Guy who's like 20 stone and plays on the wing. But elsewhere, there's been, and this has caught the attention of a few folks. I don't know if the name Visaseo, I don't know if it's Kite or Kite, Kite, 6'7", 16 years old, 23 stone. And he has been signed by La Rochelle, who are not adverse to a large Australian or a large rugby player or two. Yeah, a lot of headlines around that for somebody who's bloody 16, young at the age of 16. But who knows? Maybe that will be the name on our lips in years to come.
I have just seen, and I'm just trying to clarify. I tell you who won't be playing on the bench this weekend for France that I said might be an option, but I've currently in Rio de Janeiro on holiday with Cameron Waukee is Mathieu Jalibert. 8 hours ago. It's literally just come up on our Instagram. So I'd be amazed if Jalibert. Yeah, he did get injured. His ankle in this photo looks absolutely fine, though. There's no swelling there. And you can see the full ankle because he's not wearing any shoes.
That's quite a flare, isn't it? Cameron, I've done my ankles. You want to go to Rio for a week?
Talk about how much we hate Fabian Galtier.
That's very nice.
Do you remember 2021, back when we were like two of the best players in the world?
Oh, amazing. Cameron Waukee is not that old, is he? I saw this the other day. He has got some years left in him.
Neither Jalibert. Jalibert's really
no. Well, no, yeah, but I feel like I knew that was Jalibert, whereas Waukee I'd assumed had been around a bit longer. But there we go. I think we're done for another week. Rob, people can follow us, abuse us,
Email us.
At
rosbeefrugby@gmail.com. We have had some great emails. We need to. I was about to say I could give my address, but I don't think I want to give my address. Maybe we need. Yeah, we do need a. We actually need a PO box in France because then we can get stash delivered to it rather than having to pay shipping fees. That'd be great. I've thought about that in the past. But for those that don't, email us at rosbeefrugby@gmail.com. We are at rosbeefrugby on all social media. So that is YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Blue Sky. Have I missed any out?
Probably.
TikTok? Did I say that? Instagram?
Yeah, I think we're all good.
But yeah, who knows? This Saturday, after Super Saturday, we may be even more drunk than we were on this Saturday. And
that's a very
if you troll
wee.
us, yeah,
that was a really royal wee. I'll call that out actually because you said, "Oh, we're getting some heat." I was like, I haven't been on my phone for the last 7 hours. Yeah, so yeah, you'd have the
generally, if we get heat, it's me because I can't keep my mouth shut and I piss someone off, and then
converse via email. It's way more fun.
Yeah, and then you get much more measured response from Richard.
Correct. Thank you for listening. As ever, enjoy the last weekend of the Six Nations. No Pro D2, no top 14 action this week, but plenty to keep you interested. We'll be back next week to digest France's game against Scotland. And then there's a bit of a gap. So who knows? We might have a special guest. We might have something else lined up. We will keep you posted. In the meantime, I've been Richard. That's been Rob. We've been the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.